G'day and welcome to TASSACC Talks on the TASSACC Tube. My name's Will Braid and I'll be joined today by one of the speakers from our first event, TASSACC 1, coming up on the 27th of February. This is a bloke who's well known to people on the coast and right around the state really for his athletic prowess and abilities. His juggling prowess has also been well noted around the traps in Salamanca. It's a pleasure to welcome Brian Lyons. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks for having me, mate. How are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, buddy. Good. Got up early this morning. About a, 10 to 5 start. So, yeah, feeling quite rosy, you could say.
So that was part of the training program with Everyday Lions. They're doing a 5:30 run, I see.
Yeah, so we've always done afternoon runs. That is the first morning run that we've ever done, and we had 4 runners, which is great. But I think, it probably needed to happen because people get busy in their lives, and sometimes mornings work better for some people.
Yeah, we'll come back to that and your training philosophies and that sort of thing shortly. First question I've got for you though is who is Brian Lyons? What do we know about him?
Right, that's a good question. Brian, well, he's had a bit of a journey, you could say. I suppose when people think of me, they probably think that I run a bit, like you said, and do a bit of juggling. And I think I'm a funny dude. Some people probably don't think I'm that funny, but I don't know. I suppose I've always followed my passions. So probably passionate in what I do. Love spending time with family and friends. That's about it, mate.
Yeah, no, that's good. And running, when did you start running?
Yeah, okay. So I suppose it's very similar to a lot of people. My introduction was through school. And I suppose that was grade 3. I won my first cross country. And I probably knew even before we did cross country that my endurance was better because we do this little warm up thing in PE, and I was one of the first kids back. And yeah, the love affair began from there. And plus, my brother ran a bit, so I was always pretty competitive against him.
Yep, that's cool. So through primary school into high school, then onto bigger and better things. Tell us a bit about finishing as the first Tasmanian home in the Burnie 10.
Yeah, okay. I've only finished probably 2nd and 3rd, but I've always been the first Northwest coaster.
Yep.
I can't exactly tell you years, but it's always pretty nice to be the first coaster home because it is such a big event on the Northwest coast. It was just good, mate. I was pretty fit at the time, I think, and I think I was leading into a marathon training as well, so I was doing bigger mileage, and I can't recall the time, but I don't know. I was pretty happy. It's always nice to get a good place in your home run.
And you talk about marathon training. That's quite interesting as well. It's not quite 1 hour 59 and 29 seconds at all, but 2 hours and 28. That's not bad.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no, those guys that run sub 2 hours, that's freakish. That's just another level. I mean, you look at Monaghetti back in the 90s, and he was 2:08, so he's another 10 minutes slower, isn't he? It's just so intense.
You're still running competitively at the moment?
So I've had a bit of an injury at the moment. It's got a fancy name, but most people probably be familiar with runner's knees. So it can cause by like a loading issue. So too many Ks, probably not doing enough exercises that I should be doing because I'm old and getting sore at the moment. So the body's probably not as good as it used to be. But I've sort of started exercises the last 3 to 4 weeks, and that has made a massive improvement. And I've been running maybe this last week again. So hopefully I'll be back to some bigger mileage soon, but nothing too serious the next few months anyway.
So is that what led you into coaching, the fact that you couldn't run quite as much?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it, mate. I still want to be part of that running community, and in Devonport we're really lucky. We have a group that you can run every single day of the week, and it doesn't cost you a dime. And because I couldn't run, I wasn't doing that. So it opened up. Like I always wanted to coach, but also the lifestyle I led. It wasn't a very what's the word? Reliant. I suppose what's the word? Reliable. So I couldn't be able to do that because of my drinking, and I didn't know whether I'd be hungover A lot of things. So, I've got my life back on target, and I always knew that I wanted to coach. It's probably happened a bit quicker. It probably expanded probably a little bit more quickly than I would like. But I'm loving it, mate. And it's so different to running, and everyone is so different. They've got so many needs. It's like you have to be a social worker and a doctor and all these things. And it's great because, people are awesome, and they are so individual.
So we'll come back to that in a little minute. We've got you on board for TASSACC 1 as one of our guest speakers, which is fantastic. And there's a few questions I'd like to ask you about that. You're doing 2 presentations. What are the 2 presentations about?
Yeah, okay. So the first presentation is about, I suppose, my training philosophies, how Everyday Lyons started, just things to do in a program, things not to do in a program, and how to get fit over that 1500 to 3K distance. That's in a nutshell. And the second presentation is on I think you guys call that a lived experience.
Yep.
So for the listeners who are tuning in and probably unaware, I've had a lot of issues with alcohol over the years and my mental health. So my history, I suppose you could say, is quite interesting. I don't know. Some people might want to hear about it. So it's just about the journey I've been on and the ups and downs in my life, and where I am now and what I want to do in the future. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity, guys. And I've never really talked about it officially in a place, so it's something new for me as well, and I can't wait.
So we'll come back to that point as well. On the first point, your first subject, they're getting fit over 1500 to 3Ks.
Yeah.
How important is that for, let's just say, Wesley Vale Football Club are doing their pre-season at the moment. It's going to be February when the event's on. So how about getting them along in the late end of February to get them fit and ready for the season coming? Would that tie in well?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're part of a football club, you want to be going to the season really fit. And the best thing about this is you can maintain it as well. So, I know you got your football training, but running twice a week, that's something that you can do as well. And I don't know, if I'm a football club, you'd want to be in the fittest shape you can be and actually run out the season, not just, oh yeah, we were good for 4 or 5 weeks and then we collapsed. I think the training that I'll explain will be something that runners can maintain, especially those midfielders where it is really important. I think out of any position in AFL, if you're a midfielder, you want to be running at the game well.
And we'll come back to your second topic, which is the mental health and alcohol situation. How important is it? I'm a huge believer in lived experience speaking. I do a little bit myself through my mental health. How important is it to tell that story? Is it a matter of we want everybody to know, or if you help one person, you've done enough?
I think everyone should know, mate.
Yep.
I think there is a lot of people in this world that keep it in. And I'm not saying if that's good, I'm not saying it's bad, but I think as a community, the more that we can share, and you just never know, someone might be listening to this podcast today and go, oh, I didn't know about that. I mean, obviously I'm very open about it, but it wasn't something that I was open about to beginning with. And I probably hurt myself more because I wasn't, but like you said, how you've shared your experience, it's pretty awesome when you do help someone and someone reaches out and go, hey, I heard you talk about that. That's great. Or I've been struggling myself. And I don't know, it's like mateships. I think as a community, we have a job to be able to help people and not shove it under the rug. I mean, it's a lot better than it was 20 years ago. Yep. But I think we've got a long way to go still, because the rates of especially suicide in younger people on the Northwest Coast is ridiculous. I think per head of population, it's the largest. So that's not a good stat that we want to be having.
No, it's not the stat like most test hundreds or something like that you really aspire to, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a horrible stat, and it just doesn't affect the people. Like it's a chain reaction. It affects everyone.
Yeah, it does. It really does affect everyone, and that's the thing with mental health and that sort of stuff. I'd like to touch on, you mentioned alcohol, and here's a free plug for you. How many days sober?
Yeah, I actually just typed this in this little app last night. Do you know how you get those smoking things? So I downloaded an app or whatever. I think I'm 465 days. So I was looking at 500 days. So I thought that'd be a cool Yeah, thank you, mate.
No, that's all
Yeah,
good.
it's been a journey, as I mentioned before.
It's a huge milestone, mate. Now, Pete couldn't be here on the
Thank you.
podcast this week, but he has left me a few questions. I promise they're not
Yeah,
scary, or not as
no
scary as Pete.
worries. No,
What's
he
the
knows
most
what he wants. It's good.
what's the most important coaching skill you've developed?
Interpersonal skills. I
Yep.
think communication, and that's something that I am still working on because everyone is so different, and you get personalities that clash, and you may not agree with it. But that's a beauty too. It's their training.
Yep.
I'm the coach, yeah, but they have an input in more than like I might be writing it, but their input is so much more important than they think it is. So
Yeah. That's quite true, isn't it? Those interpersonal skills are
that's yeah. Oh,
what
do you
really
want me to
makes
name
the
something
whole
else?
what makes the whole thing work, doesn't it?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. If you don't have communication, oh, yeah, you're in trouble.
big trouble. Uh, to be a high level coach, must you have played or been an athlete at a high level?
No, no. Some of the best coaches in the world didn't play elite level or anything like that. There's even I probably even shouldn't say this, but there's even some of the best coaches in Australia probably only have level 1 or level 2. So I think a coach is more than just a piece of paper too.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think I think you just have to be a personal person and have a way with people and not be scared to try new things. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, well, what's the worst that can happen? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they have a shit season, but at least you tried. Hey,
If you don't test something, you don't know if it works.
exactly right. Yeah, yep.
Um, should coaches of emerging sports people get more recognition?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think of people like Mick Gunson and what he did with Dion Kenzie's career early on. Like he took Dion from running okay to going to the Paralympics. And I know Mick Gunson's probably well known on the coast, but I think that's just one example. Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. How important is coaching development for Tassie to be a more competitive and healthier state?
Can you say that question again, mate? You can quite hear it.
Yep, that's all good. How important is coaching development to Tassie to make it a more competitive and healthy state?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know about other coaches, but what you guys are doing is fantastic. And I think, I don't know what you got in the waterworks, but I think a forum where people just swap ideas, that would be an awesome thing. And I don't know, knowledge is power, isn't it?
Yep, yep,
I
absolutely.
think everyone's got a little bit like I suppose my role models are like a few people who coach me, and I know just one or two things that they've told me have stuck with me the rest of your life. So if I can do that to someone else, that would be awesome in 10 years' time.
Yep, happy days.
Yeah, exactly.
Pete's got one more question, and it's one that I'm really interested in as well. How do you manage your mental health and the mental health of your athletes?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Big
Hey.
ripper.
Yeah, I guess this last year it's been more important than ever with everything that's gone on with COVID, and there's so much uncertainty. Luckily, with running, it's such a good mental health thing to do. So I think it comes back to communication again and checking in on these people and maybe looking for those small cues that, oh shit, something's not right. They missed a session.
Yep,
Oh, they're a bit quiet on social media. That's probably not the best thing to say, but some people when they're happy, they post a lot, don't they?
yep,
So
yep.
that could be one sign, or they said just an offhanded comment. Once again, I think it's a responsibility of probably both parties as well, and say, look, I'm struggling here. But it's just not me as a coach. I think it's the people around them in our crew as well, because they probably bond closer than I would, because they go off on their warm-up runs and I'm not there. I'm setting up cones or whatever. Like
Yep.
they're doing the session and they got their mate next to them. They're probably talking to them. So I think it's a responsibility of the whole crew, just not the coach.
That's excellent. And I suppose I've got one more thing for you before I let you go, because I know you probably need an afternoon nap after being up at 4:30. But
That's all right. I'm going to power on.
what can you tell me about this podcast called the Everyday Lions podcast?
Yeah, cool. Well, I suppose similar to you guys. I know that you've got a few podcasts going. I didn't really want to go down that avenue because I'm pretty shy type of person, and I was doing written interviews, but there's something about talking to someone, isn't it? It's more powerful. You can hear them in their voice or their tone. And yeah, I just interview Tasmanian runners, and we just talk a whole lot of running and anything that comes up. And it's just not elite runners; it's recreational runners and anyone who's got a great story. And it's been awesome, mate. Yeah, it's just been great, and I've opened up just with donations to help the costs, and I've had some really kind people who have donated, and that just means the world to me that they appreciate the work I'm doing. So yeah, it's awesome.
Really shows that you're onto a good thing, I reckon, mate.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you. And I've heard yours as well. You should bring it back, that other one. Good. Stopped it.
It's something a little bit different anyway. Mate, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We look forward to seeing you at TASSACC 1 on the 27th of Feb. And
cheers, Will. Thank
mate,
you so much.
Keep up the good work. Get yourself
Thanks,
into
mate.
me, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good, mate. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Brian.
Cheers, buddy.